The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And this is Andy, and you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
So before we get started, fellas, we should wish Andy a very happy, I don't know how many it is, I want to say 35th birthday.
Happy birthday, Andy.
He is taking the night off to celebrate with his lovely wife, and we were going to do the NFL uniforms this week, but we've had some breaking news, so we'll do a regular show this week while Andy celebrates, and then we will do the NFL uniforms next week.
So, guys,
it happened.
Yeah, it finally happened. It happened in the most Dan Snydery way possible, including a team header that included the name and logo that they were announcing they were retiring.
Yeah, Washington Redskins announcement. We're getting rid of the name Redskins. The Washington Redskins will no longer be the Redskins after today.
Can we find 6 or 7 more ways to say Redskins before we go for the last time? I was wondering about this. Do you think that the Redskins stuff's going to become a weird sort of collector's item now? I think it will.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you know how sports fans are.
I
Absolutely.
would even guarantee that there will be a healthy amount of Redskins fans, and then probably not even Redskins fans. We'll just call them Trump supporters that will buy up all the merch they can as like a point of, they ain't taking away my freedoms. Political correctness is ruining this country, sort of thing.
Look, I am not at all in favor of how wild the PC thing is run at this point, but it's one thing to go, okay, Indians, we can have a discussion. Braves, we can have a discussion, whatever. This is a straight up racial slur, and it's amazing to me that it has taken this long to finally have someone go, okay, it's time we stop doing this.
The thing that has always recently surprised me about the name that I guess I didn't either connect the dots or didn't register with me, but when they were in Boston, they were the Braves, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then they changed the name to Redskins after what was it, when they moved to Washington or after?
Back in the day, football was kind of like the peon second fiddle sport to baseball, right?
Baseball, yeah.
Which is why you have stuff like the New York Giants. They were named after the baseball team. So like football teams would name themselves after the baseball team to, get some good will and some good press. So the Atlanta Braves baseball team used to play in Boston as the Boston Braves.
Right.
And the team that was formerly the Redskins used to play in their stadium as the Boston Football Braves. But there was a dispute over like arena fees or something, stadium fees, and the football team moved into the Boston Red Sox stadium, Fenway. So they're like, well, I guess they didn't feel they could be the Boston Football Red Sox, so they looked for like a native themed name that had red in the name, and so Redskins.
I'd always heard too that the owner at the time was a pretty racist dude.
George Preston Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a racist dude. He eventually moved the team from Boston to Washington. The Redskins were the last team in either Major League Baseball or the NFL to integrate.
And you're talking baseball. The last team in the majors, I believe, was the Red Sox, and that was like in 58 or 56.
Yeah, and Marshall held out until the mid 60s.
Wow.
To the point where like the only reason he did is because the federal government had to come in, because they were playing at RFK at the time, right? So they were in DC, which was federal land. And so the federal government had to be like, George, cut the shit and just integrate. Or else
how great is it that with all that history, that one of their most famous players is a black quarterback? I think that's just awesome. This guy, had he been alive to see it, because, I mean, let's be honest about it. I remember vividly when a black quarterback in the National Football League was a bit of an unusual thing.
And
Like
Doug
in the
Williams,
70s,
right?
80s. Yeah, it was Doug Williams. What really, I don't even know. I mean, I guess he kind of broke the barrier when he won that Super Bowl in 87, but you could count on one hand.
He's by the way, he's on the list of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks the Tampa Bay Bucks have drafted but have won Super Bowls for other teams. Doug Williams, I think, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think of any modern day players for the Washington NFL football team because they're a dumpster fire. But when I think
Clinton
of
Portis.
I was gonna say Kirk Cousins, but he's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Sean Taylor, he was pretty good, right?
Taylor, yeah.
Yeah. But I guess when I think of historic players for that team, Doug Williams is the first one to pop to mind.
I would think of him, Art Monk, John Riggins.
Oh, and Joe Theismann, because Alex
Right.
Smith, his career was destroyed in the exact same way. Eerily close. Deion Sanders was a Redskin at one point. Okay, that's another player.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know. Really?
That was like his end of the career. It looks weird phase.
Oh, his Emmitt Smith with the Cardinals face?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
I just tried to Google Deion Sanders to confirm that, and then when Google did the autocorrect, it said Deion Sanders, and it comes up because I'm using Chrome. It has like a preview of his picture, and underneath it says American professional baseball player. So Google lists Deion as a baseball player before a football player. But
Okay.
secondly, to go all the way back, the reason I brought up their history is to say that it's not like the Redskins have always been the Redskins. Like they've been other things, and they could have years and years and years ago decided to go back to a more tepid Native American imagery, but they stuck to their guns with the former name, and now it's just about time. As we said.
Say in 1990, had they quietly changed their name to the Washington Warriors but kept the logo the same, would anyone have cared? Continue
No.
Probably not. It would have at least been more along the lines of the Braves or the Chiefs, something along those lines.
It's not a clear-cut problem. Maybe people still talk about it, but it's not a huge deal.
Right.
It's interesting. They have been in Washington as the Redskins since 1937. And there have been attempts to change the name, at least visible attempts to change the name, since at least 1972. The big thing that kicked it off was, I think it was the 1990 Super Bowl where they played the Bills. Was that 1990?
91, yeah. 91 season, yeah.
And there was something like 3,000 protesters outside the stadium over the team name. And since then, it's been a constant thing that the media has paid attention to. Usually when these issues are raised, there's always people who go why is it suddenly a problem now? No, it's always been a problem. This has always been talked about. Obviously, they've been the Redskins since, prior to 1937, but they've been the Washington Redskins since 1937. They trademarked the name in 1967, and less than 5 years later, you have journalists in the team's locale writing about how it's a racist name. It has been a problem for decades and decades.
Yeah,
it's not just a recent thing.
No, it's nothing new. It's not part of the quote-unquote PC movement. It's none of that. It's been an issue for a very long time. Again, maybe this is just my heritage talking, whatever, but if you name that team the equivalent of that name based on any other race, it never makes it to 2020. It never gets out of the gate.
No, of course
not. And that's what aggravates me about it the most. People are like, it's a tribute. No, it's not. Yeah. Seminoles is a tribute. There are lots of ways to do a tribute to Native Americans, and Redskins isn't any of them.
People try to reference that, the logo was actually drawn by a Montana Native American who based it off of Chief, I forget the Chief's name.
I've heard that a few times, someone saying, oh, the logo was designed by a Native American, whatever. I haven't been able to find any proof of that. It's a story I've heard people bandy around, but
I'd never heard it at all until Chris mentioned it in that article he wrote on the Mothership.
I'm not going to say a Native guy didn't draw the logo, because for all I know, maybe someone did. If that is true, then that doesn't necessarily mean that it's okay. Now, there have been people who have suggested the name is a problem, but the logo's fine. And if you keep the logo but change the name to like Potomacs or Americans, then it works. I guess I can see that. But at the same time, I'm not a native person. And so while I might think, oh, yeah, that's just a picture of a native dude, it's not up to me to say that's a good idea. So I just leave that to other people like who do have that cultural background to say that one way or the other. But just from a branding perspective, I think that, you know, the Washington Redskins as a brand have been around since 1937. And if we're finally at the point where we're moving past it, I think keeping the logo, even if native people by and large don't have a problem with it by itself, it's probably just a good idea just to get rid of it, just change the name, come up with something completely new, move on. Because if you keep the logo but change the name, then you're kind of just letting it fester. You're letting that discussion or that disagreement fester.
I get the sentiment behind just work with one of the local tribes and it'll be fine. I get the sentiment behind that and I understand it. And I think it's an honorable approach, but you're applying a one size fits all to a very diverse group of people. And to me, the smartest move you could make, really, if you've got a chance to rebrand, then again, we can have discussions about Indians. We can have discussion about Chiefs, Braves, and all that. They're not quite as clear cut. The smart, prudent move by the Washington NFL team would be to go, you know what? We're done with all Native American imagery because that's the smart play here. You can't piss anybody off if you don't do it at all. When you've been called a racist slur since 1937, I don't think you get to do a little bit of a reset and go, okay, we're going to keep the logo, but we're getting rid of the name. No.
Yeah.
It's time to just wipe the slate and start over.
And really, when you think about it, I think the length of time that they've been in use of it has already done all the damage it's going to do. We went through a period where like we tried to avoid saying the name, and then it's just like, well, we can't. It's just too hard because it's just that's the name of the team. And when we talk about sports, it's how we talk about the teams is by their names. And even earlier, I tried to catch myself and I couldn't do it, and it's made.
Oh, it's ingrained.
Well, right. That's what I mean. Is like, as somebody that likes to think that I'm not a racist person. I don't think that way about people, and I try to treat them all as you should be. But the fact that the name comes so easily out of my mouth now, that's something that you can't really take back to a certain extent, and it's normalized what is a racial slur.
I think that's
the point where it's like it feels weird not calling it that.
That's an excellent point. First off, I don't think Redskins has ever carried the weight that some other racial slurs have, which I don't know why that is, but it just seems to be the case.
Honestly, I think I know why.
Okay.
I think for a lot of people, if you asked them, and I'm not talking about just natives or whatever, I'm just saying just random people, like just ask random people, like first thing that comes to mind when I say Redskin, I guarantee you probably at least 8 out of 10 of them are going to say the football team over a slur.
I'd say 99% are going to say that.
Being the name of an NFL team normalized it, and it sucks that happened. But if I had to say why Redskins, tends to be, I guess, more acceptable to more people, it's probably just because it's the name of a football team.
So with the name, it was pretty clear. Like I honestly don't know how or why Dan Snyder didn't do this before, because to me it seemed like his biggest incentive before our current age of unrest was he wanted that stadium in DC proper, and DC proper said we won't give you any right to build a stadium here until you change the name. So I considering how much Dan Snyder is a man that loves his money and thought it would be advantageous to make more money by going into the city and doing that, I thought that would have been the easy first step to have him start changing it. But even that didn't do it until the recent run with the sponsors and all that. Mm-hmm. So I just part of me is as we kind of alluded to is like, why now? But of course, or why not earlier? But now it's like, of course.
Well, I just don't want to see any sort of press release from that team going, we finally decided that it was insensitive about. No, that is complete and utter bullshit. It was purely financial. And if you say otherwise, I have no respect for you to begin with, but if you say otherwise, please don't even assume that even the dumbest fan is that fucking dumb, because it's so obvious what's going on here. If FedEx doesn't pull out, I don't think this happens. I really don't. As simple as that. I forget what the other sponsor was, but if FedEx Nike.
Nike and then Pepsi as well, actually.
Yeah. But if those are three huge sources of revenue. If those three things don't happen, we're not even having this discussion. We're just going, well, the Redskins are still the Redskins, and there's nothing we can do about it. So I don't want to hear basically a Nike Babble-inspired bullshit excuse for why they did this, because we all know why you're doing it.
Well, let's read the press release.
And for just to put that out there too, I'm looking at their Twitter to find the statement myself, Mike, and the Twitter handle is still at Redskins, and the team name is still Washington Redskins.
That was not a forward-thinking move on their part.
No, so I mean, at this point, like, you would think if you were a forward-thinking team and you were trying to get ahead of it, you would the handle would be at Washington NFL,
right?
Something.
Well, here's the question. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that if they change their Twitter handle, they don't lose followers, right? I mean, it's not like it's a brand new thing. No. So yeah, they could have easily solved that.
And let's be honest, even if they did, they're the Washington NFL football team. They'd make it back easily.
Right.
But okay,
I'm just trying to figure out like what their justification for sticking with these might be, and I can't come up with one.
I think I'll get to that in a moment, but I did find the press release.
Yeah, the press release is it's short.
It's short, but it's hilarious because so it's got the Washington Redskins header. So I'm going to read this header to you because Greg, you asked how many times can we fit Redskins into this? Washington Redskins.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
Washington Redskins.
Let's get a counter going. Okay.
Washington Redskins. 1. NVIDIA Sports Performance Center at Redskins Park. 2. 21330 Redskin Park Drive, Ashburn, Virginia. 3. www.redskins.com. 4. media.redskins.com. 5. We're not even out of the header. 5.
We haven't even gotten to the words press release, and you're at 5.
We're at 5 Redskins. 5. We're not even out of the header. All right. Press release. For immediate release, 13th of July, 2020. Statement from the Washington Redskins football team. 6. Okay.
And again, right there, you very easily could just say the Washington NFL football team and just be and already start your transition out of this. But they chose not to do that, so
on July 3rd, we announced the commencement of a thorough review of the team's name. The review has begun in earnest. As part of the process, we want to keep our sponsors, fans, and community appraised of our thinking as we go forward. Oh, so they mentioned the sponsors first. Look at that. All right.
At least they're being honest.
Today, we are announcing that we will be retiring the Redskins, 7. Name and logo upon completion of this review. Dan Snyder and Coach Rivera are working closely to develop a new name and design approach that will enhance the standing of our proud tradition-rich franchise and inspire our sponsors, fans, and community sponsors again for the next 100 years. So props to them. They mentioned the sponsors first twice.
Yep.
And we're at 7 Redskins. The Redskins counter was at 7.
Yeah.
There you go. In the announcement where they said they were no longer the Redskins.
Yeah, we will be retiring the name and logo. Despite
after we say it 7 more times.
Despite the name being in there 7 times and the logo being prominent at the top, and all of our social media still featuring it, and blah blah blah.
So I actually wanted to get to that because Greg, you mentioned like you couldn't see why they're still doing it. I think I know why.
Okay.
So I mean, it's really kind of funny. I don't believe this team was smart enough to think ahead and actually trademark or have like a in case of emergency break glass identity ready to go. And so they have announced we're no longer going to be the Redskins, but they don't have anything ready to go yet. And so until they have a new identity ready, they are still technically the Redskins.
Right. Well, and here's the thing too. If this was a normal year, training camps would be opening in like 17 days, roughly, in a little over 2 weeks. Could you imagine, like, first off, if they wanted to get a new name and new logo and like put that all on jerseys and on merchandise and everything before the season started, I'm surprised that they didn't make an announcement saying I guess what I'm more surprised by is the immediacy of what it sounds like they're trying to do. Because for any other team name, it's like, okay, we're going to rebrand the entire franchise. For the next year, we will remain the LA Rams, whatever. And then, just say like, this will be the last season of us using the name and the logo, and then we will change it. We'll go through the process of designing a new logo, picking an identity, and talking to whoever we need to do, and blah, blah, blah. But if you're going to do it this immediately, I don't even think they need like a, break glass in case of emergency, like identity ready to go. I think in this case, the break glass thing should just be generic NFL team. Like how do you not, like, again, the easiest thing you could do when it comes to rebranding all this stuff is when you put out this new, like, especially when you say you're going to do it on a Monday, you have an entire weekend or whatever to get this in place where, hey, at 9 a.m. on Monday morning, we're like everything is switching over. We're going to a generic, burgundy and gold NFL logo. We're just changing it to Washington NFL. We're getting rid of the logo on the letterhead. Like, this is all PR 101, and they didn't do any of it. They're just like, yeah, we're gonna change the name now because money.
Well, that, and they keep saying the name, but you know what? The sad part of it is, had they said they could have come out and said, we're changing the name. We can't hit the brakes fast enough to make it for this year, so we're gonna have one more season of it. They would have gotten away with it. I absolutely think they would have gotten away with it. And as far as change part of it, I mean, yeah, you're right. It doesn't take anything to think this through. But to go back to what Mike was talking about with in case of emergency, break glass identity. Now I don't know how much truth there is this. I think I read it on the boards that Dan Snyder let the trademark on Washington Warriors elapse a few years ago.
Yeah, so that was the in case of emergency break glass identity, is that they had been keeping the Washington Warriors name trademarked. And I don't know what happened a few years ago, if Dan Snyder just started feeling arrogant that he'd never have to change, or he, whatever, or if he just forgot. But the Washington Warriors trademark has been lapsed. And apparently, according to reports, the reason they haven't announced a new name or logo yet is because the one that they want to go with is like held up in trademark, because some Arlington area retailer like months ago trademarked every possible replacement name.
He was squatting on these names. Honestly, 2 of the names he trademarked took place on the 5th and 7th of July.
Yeah.
That's how slow to the draw the Washington NFL team was. It was like, you guys couldn't see this coming,
Well, and to kind of, I guess to expand on kind of what we were talking about with the press release too, and just how they've been slow on the draw and all this stuff. So I'm looking at their Twitter page, and the statement from today is the first post they've had since July 3rd, when they made the announcement that they were going to get rid of the name, or that they were going to go into the process. And again, when it comes to, can you just have like any sort of PR team to put a spin on this in the right direction? I don't think we read the original statement from the 3rd, but it just says, first off, again, when it comes to the counter, we still have the 5 in the header, the 1 in the statement from the Washington team, and then it says, uses the full name, another 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
So that's 9 in one statement.
Well, not only
10.
that, they're still okay. I just went to their Twitter page. They are still the Washington Redskins,
right?
Blue check mark,
right?
And they're still using the logo.
Yeah, but in that original statement, again, like it, just to expand in both these statements, there's no sincere attempt at correcting what is wrong with these things in this process. It just says, in light of recent events around our country and feedback from our community, the team is announcing we will undergo a thorough review of the name. This review formalizes internal discussions, blah, blah, blah. Dan Snyder, this process allows the team to take into account not only the proud tradition of our franchise, but also input from our alumni, the organization, sponsors, the National Football League, again, sponsors before the actual league itself, and the local community that is proud to represent on and off the field. And then it's only Ron Rivera's statement that says, I will be working closely with Dan Snyder to make sure we continue the mission of honoring and supporting Native Americans and our military. So in both of those statements, the one from today and the one from 2 weeks ago, there's no real acknowledgement that the name is a problem and why the name is a problem.
There's no, we did this because it's the right thing. We did it because it's the right thing to do. It's a good thing. It's just like, I had to. You left me no choice. Here's Redskins 7 more times before I tell you all to fuck off. That's basically what it boiled down to, I think.
Well, again, but like, I know NFL teams have PR departments.
Yes.
Like, it wouldn't be hard to be like, guys, just draft up something generic about us helping the community. Like, there have been plenty of soulless PR statements made over the years about commitments to change and stuff like that have 100 times more heart than what the Redskins have put out. It's literally like they've announced like a business transaction. Like, and we're putting RG3 on waivers. Like that, we're putting the Redskins name on waivers, and we'll be picking another one up in the draft on Thursday. Next question. When it comes to what they're going to go to next, the odds got put out today by various bookmakers around the world, online, Vegas, otherwise. It seems like, and this has been kind of the case for a while when these discussions come up, the favorite right now is Red Tails, which, to those that don't know, the Red Tails were a unit of black fighter pilots in World War II. Back when the military was still segregated them, but it was still a black unit, and they were called the Red Tails because the tail fins of their planes were red.
You might know them better as the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yes.
Yes. A couple movies. There was an HBO movie about them. Legend has it, although, again, it's kind of like the Native American drew the logo. Legend has it that the Tuskegee Airmen, or the Red Tails, never lost a single fighter or a single bomber they were escorting in all their missions. Now, there are some people that go, they might have lost 1 or 2, but whatever. If you even lost just 2 out of the number they did, that's still pretty good. Yeah. So I think that's a nice idea, but I don't know how it – I don't know why I get caught up in this one. I usually don't care, but Tuskegee was in what, Alabama or one of those? Yeah.
Apparently a few of them were native to D.C. and the area around it. So. Okay,
I mean, I'm fine with it. I think it'd be great to give those guys their due, but – you know.
Well, and I think the way that they get away with it too is that it's Washington D.C. You know, it's you can use a whole lot of national imagery to do that. And in that statement, the first statement, as I said, Ron Rivera specifically mentioned, and I guess Dan Snyder has done this in other places as well, that they have some sort of commitment to honoring the military with a name change as well. So this would check off that box for them and make them feel good about, supporting the military. And really, when it comes to implementing it into the current brand with trying to do as little maneuvering around as possible, you take the current logo that they have, you use the R logo that they have, you put that on the helmet, and there you go. You're pretty much set to go. Besides any other places that the name is currently listed, I understand why this is put as the favorite, because it just seems like it would be the easiest to change what they have into and kind of morph it pretty similarly. And you keep a red space name sort of convention.
Sure.
I don't know.
I can go with
it. Guys, I hate to jump on what is clearly a social media joke, but Washington Sentinels from the Replacements. Let's go.
There are worse options out there, believe me.
To go to something that is kind of in the zeitgeist, as it were. The second favorite, according to this list, is the Washington Generals, as in,
the team the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, the team that the Harlem Globetrotters beat the shit out of every time they play. Yeah. Again, of course, Generals being a military term, and it's Washington. George Washington was a general.
Okay,
Sure.
so this tweet might actually be my favorite because it just sums it up so well. If you follow that.
Why now? Why not 20 years ago? Yeah, it's always a valid point. Generals,
I don't think you can name it the Generals.
You can't, because everyone knows the Harlem Globetrotters thing. Like,
You know what though? Seriously, I think that I don't know if a younger generation is that familiar because the Globetrotters aren't as popular as they used to be, are they?
But
Maybe.
here's the
I mean,
thing.
hell, I'm more familiar with the Harlem Globetrotters because of the Scooby-Doo cartoons.
Yes.
Right.
Than anything else.
But I remember in those cartoons whenever the Harlem Globetrotters like showed up, wasn't the villain always the coach of the Washington Generals or some shit? Like, but here's the thing, like, maybe the younger generations today aren't as in the know about the Washington Generals or the Harlem Globetrotters, but that as soon as the team announces we're the Washington Generals, every sports writer is going to bring that up, and suddenly it's going to be back into the zeitgeist.
Exactly. Right. The youth may not know about it, but the people like us that do know are going to be quick to point it out as soon as.
And then the youth will know, and now everyone will know, and now your name's stupid again. It's not offensive.
Wasn't Trump's USFL team the Generals?
The Jersey
Yes.
Generals, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's unprecedented in football.
No, but you know what? But to go back to the original point, whenever I would hear that name, you know what I thought of? The Washington Generals.
Yeah, Herschel Walker.
No, I hear New Jersey Generals, and I would think that's the team Globetrotters play.
Yeah.
So my legit non-movie preferred name, and I said this in the chat that this would not be popular with you. I don't think it'll be popular for you guys. I prefer Washington Red Wolves. I think I'm coming around on that.
I saw that today too, and I don't hate it.
Does it skew into the territory of like, is it a bit collegiate? Yeah, but I don't know. I think it sounds good. I think you get some cool imagery out of it. I think that you sidestep a lot of because so the problem here that I've seen a lot of people bring up about the whole Tuskegee Airmen thing, right, is that it would be kind of just a huge thing where it's like, so y'all are just trying to paper over your dumb idea by just It's like, well, no, because we chose another minority, but it's sort of this case where it's like, I like Red Wolves. You can get some cool imagery out of it, and also you can probably just sidestep the whole problem by just being like, it's not going to have anything to do with the fucking with the military, which could be controversial. It's got nothing to do with the with an ethnic group. It's just going to be we're the Red Wolves, and that's that. And I think that's, I don't know.
Well, I like that too, only because so I'll read off the rest of the names here. The rest of the names that are on all these lists they're all trying to take some sort of either military or American Washington D.C. identity, and it just none of them work for me as sports team names. So the other names that are on here are presidents, Lincolns, veterans. And then Americans, memorials, monuments, kings, Roosevelts, and then Redhawks.
I liked the so that Arlington retailer who trademarked all those names. One of the names that he trademarked was Radskins, and I'm kind of hoping that's what they go with.
If this was 1983, yeah.
And the logo can just be like a white
Just put
dude.
sunglasses on the logo.
No, I was gonna say the logo could be a white dude with spiked frosted tips and some sunglasses, and there you go, the Radskins.
The Radskins. There you go, man. Doing the double devil horns and the whole bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, huh? Come on now.
I do hope they go a little out of the box. But I don't expect it to, just because of some of the things we already mentioned, like the timeline that they have to do, and the fact that it's all kind of done begrudgingly. I don't think there's going to be some sort of moment of inspiration that comes out of this for the design team. Like, because here's the other thing to think about: is this going to be good or bad? Because where in the case of my beloved LA Rams, where they had probably too much time to think about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna you basically have to design this in a span of 2 to 3 weeks.
That might actually work to their advantage, right? Where it's like you don't have time for someone to say, "What if it was all beige?"
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but at the other side of it, we're probably going to get something that's just generic.
I
got to go back to the Rams for a second, because I just realized
we don't have to.
No, just for 1 second, because I kind of almost understand what happened. There would be times when I'd be editing a piece when I was still working at the TV station, and I would go down this rabbit hole and go, "This is fucking amazing." And I'd get to the end and I go, "Okay, let's watch it." And then I go, "Oh, what was I thinking?" They never got to that point. They were still, "This is the amazing part," and they released it. I'm just saying, that's what happened. But anyway,
this is what happens when you have too much time on your hands.
Right.
And overthink the problem.
When you start going, you go, "Well, this is kind of cool. What if we did this?" And then you just start piling what if on top of it, and then it collapses under a heap of its own shit. Fortunately for me, I was always able to go, "Okay, scratch that, start over." I think with the design process, I don't know if you get that deep into it. Can you just go, erase everything?
Well,
and start?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure.
They should
but I
be
think
able to, but they didn't.
I think it's hard when you have your fucking vision boards that have words like inspire and sunset on them, and it's like, I think when you're that type of person, self-reflection is not particularly a strong suit of yours. So,
and you know what else I used to do too? Now that I'm just trying to compare the two processes here, I would think, I've got this idea, I have to cram it in there somehow. No matter what, I've got to get, because I think this is cool. And I'm just looking at the Rams and going, fuck, it's like a bad video. It's like a bad edit. That's what it is. But anyway, back to Washington. We don't need to go down the Rams rabbit hole again, because I'm sure Zach's heard enough already.
It's fine.
But
the defeated, it's fine.
But yeah, it's a bad video. It's a bad edit. That's the easiest way to describe it.
But in terms of the Washington NFL football team, I think that, I don't know. I like Red Wolves. I think that, I mean, the worst thing I can say about it is that it is a bit generic, but I think that given all of the controversy around that's been around this team's name since, the 70s, that just kind of coming out and being like, look, we're going to be the Red Wolves. Our logo is going to be like an R for a while until we can design a wolf logo. Enjoy. Like, that is like, it's not exciting, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you know what? It's fine. It's an okay team name, and it's fine.
What about this? And I don't know if I'm sure people discuss this, but what if they just, remember the R they had on the yellow helmets, and they just do a version of that on the maroon helmets, remove the Redskins logos and all that, and they just sit on their hands forever. And then basically, we're not going to call ourselves the Redskins, but you call us whatever you want. I mean,
Washington R.
I mean, is that a possibility?
I mean,
you put a W, not an R, but a W up there. But you know what I mean?
That's what people have potentially said, but given how brand heavy the NFL is, I can't see that lasting. Like I don't think the NFL,
they wouldn't go for that.
The NFL wouldn't be like, at most I could see the NFL being like, okay, you can be the Washington football team for like a year, but you got to come up with a name at the end of it. And then, but like if they didn't, it would be like, okay, like enough is enough. You're the Washington whatevers. Like the NFL, I'm convinced, like if the Browns didn't have the history that they do, there's no way that they would have let like the logoless helmet fly. They tried to get them to add a logo at one point, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen. The league's too image heavy. They're not gonna let them just be the Washington Football Club.
Call them the Washington Snyders.
Oh, God.
But I think, though, that if given their druthers, Dan Snyder would say, we'll just put a W on the helmet and we'll go to the college. I mean, most people, when you think of the college football team, the behemoth that plays in Columbus, which name do you go with? Do you call them Ohio State or do you call them the Buckeyes? You guys, not me. I mean, but what do you guys, what would you think of?
Ohio State?
It's Ohio State. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, same with, let's take the team that plays in South Bend. What are they?
Notre
Dame.
Yeah.
Okay, the team that plays in Autzen Stadium out in Nike Land with all the crazy uniforms.
Fucking Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The USC is not the Trojans, they're USC. My point being that if they could get away with it, they could just sit on their hands and go, we're not going to call ourselves anything. You call us what you want. And that would be a really shitty end around to how they do this. I'm not saying they're going to, but they certainly could.
All those are college names, though, right?
I understand that, but
the university has a much bigger identity than a sports team does.
But think about this, though. When you think about, and I don't know how this is playing with Washington fans. I know it's playing with non-Washington fans. They're going, good, it's about time. But I don't know how supportive of that name they are or not. It looks like they're pretty upset about it, which I can't believe. But so I'm just saying, I wouldn't rule it out. I mean,
I don't think it's going to happen just because of the branding machine that is the NFL. I don't think that is something that they would allow. Just
like think about, better example, the Texases of Texas that play in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're technically the Rangers, but nobody calls them that. I'm just saying, I think that there are workarounds for this. If he really wants to put his foot down and have a hissy fit, there are workarounds. He can come up with the dumbest fucking name possible.
The hissy fit, the hissy fit idea that I heard is that he would announce that they're like the Washington Red Tails to like get all that goodwill, and then the logo would end up being like a fox or something like. But no, like I legit like I get it. Dan Snyder is petulant, but I don't think that the NFL would just let him go nameless. Like,
no, I don't either. But what I'm saying is that what if he just picked a really, like Red Wolves, for example, and then
I like Red Wolves. I like Red Wolves. I won't have you disparaging my choice.
Okay, but let's say that's the best choice out there. But what he does is he says we're the Red Wolves now, and then they go the Texas of Texas's route, and they don't emphasize it at all. And then you're left in a position where there's a vacuum there, and the old fans can, you just put an R on the helmet. You can even go back to the throwback yellow helmets, which have the historical connection to the team. Technically, we're the Red Wolves, but everybody calls us the Redskins, and we're not going to stop them. We're not going to encourage it, but I'm just saying.
I think in that case, if they wanted to do something like that, like I think time is against them, because in time, eventually the new name is going to outpace the old name.
Yeah.
People, you'll have sports journalists using the new name, ESPN will use the new name. I don't see and sure, like older fans will probably, might still call them that, to try to make a point, but eventually the new name will win out. And I mean, honestly, I think eventually you'll start to see, if they did that, you'll start to see like Red Wolves style merchandise, because, well, let's face it, who doesn't like money? They're gonna, eventually they're going to realize we've sold all of the Redskins gear we're ever going to sell. we should probably start selling some Washington Red Wolves gear.
Yeah.
Not to make it sound as cynical as that, but sometimes that's how it is. So I don't know. I think I could see Dan Snyder doing something petulant like that, but my point is that I think that time is so against him in this regard that it's not even going to, like, in the end there's nothing he can do about it.
Well, yeah, probably. But like I said, maybe not forever, but I could see them dragging their feet on this for a year, 2. I mean, because the argument you could make, and again, I'm not endorsing this by any measure, but the argument they could make is, look how long it took the Rams, look how long it took the Browns, the Buccaneers, and we just can't do this quickly. So we're just going to be the Washingtons. There you go. There's your name right there. They went to George Washington to be the Washington Washingtons. Done deal. 2 W's and we're finished. But anyway, anything could happen. I don't know, but let's we get more on this. Oh, go ahead.
The last bit about this whole kind of thing, we talked about previously other teams, and what they were going to do or not do, whether it was the Indians or the Blackhawks. I think we had said that the Indians were talking about the team name. Did we get around to saying that the Blackhawks officially said that they aren't going to change the name or the logo?
I don't think we said it on the show, but I think we're all aware of that at this point. Yeah,
they're not going to change.
They say that the logo symbolizes an important historic person, Black Hawk of Illinois' Sac and Fox Nation, whose leadership in life has inspired generations of Native Americans, veterans, and the public. So they're not changing that. And then the bigger one that happened in the last couple of days was the Atlanta Braves sent an email to their season ticket holders.
Yeah.
Saying that the Braves honor, respect, and values the Native American community. We have an active and supportive relationship with the Native American community. Last fall, we furthered that relationship and pledged to meet and listen to Native American and tribal leaders, including the Eastern Band of Cherokees in North Carolina. They have established a Native American working group with diverse collection of other tribal leaders to collaborate on matters related to culture, education, outreach, etc. They said that the name Braves is not under consideration or deemed a change necessary. We have great respect and reverence for our name and the Native American communities that have held meaningful relationships with us do as well. We will always be the Atlanta Braves. The only thing that really came out of it is this, as it relates to the fan experience, the tomahawk chop. It is one of the many issues that we were working with on the advisory group. And this part I didn't know. The chop was popularized by our fans when Deion Sanders joined the team, and it continued to inspire our players on the field. With that in mind, we are continuing to listen to the Native American community as well as our fans, players, alumni, to ensure that we make an informed decision on that part of the fan experience. So again, hey, Washington Redskins, the Atlanta Braves aren't changing anything, but they still managed to use the phrase Native American community 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and named a specific band of Indians that they're working with. So,
which is I goes back to my original point. The Eastern Band of Cherokee. Okay, that's great. They're mostly in North Carolina, but okay. What about the Creek that are right there where your stadium is built on former Creek land? Maybe you should throw them into the mix too.
Or how about the leaders from many areas?
Good, but to go back to the chop, okay. Yeah. Again, I think you would probably find some natives that find it offensive, but you almost, with this in particular, you almost have to ask the second question: how important is it to you? And you're going to find not very. I think I could be wrong. But my guess is that it's very low on the list. I find it harmless, but maybe I'm wrong about that. My question is,
when it comes to how much does it mean to you, I think that question can go both ways, because I had assumed this was something that had been going on for a long time, just because that's the Atlanta Braves. That's what they do. I didn't realize it had only come around when Deion came to them in the mid-90s.
It's like 91, 92, something like that, yeah.
So that's kind of surprising.
That changes it, because it's no longer this, team tradition. It's something
where it came from, don't you?
Tradition.
It came from Florida State because that's where he played football.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well,
I guess the
Kansas
thing with
City does it now too, right? The Chiefs.
I don't know. Probably.
I've never seen the Chiefs do it.
I can't remember either. The thing with that is, what are you going to do? I mean, I don't know that you can stop people from doing it. I guess you could ask nicely. If you tell them they can't do it, they're going to do it just in spite of you because that's what people do.
Well, this has been talked about that apparently, like, universities, even some universities that have native names have done stuff like banned students from going to games wearing headdresses.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, you can do basic code of conduct stuff where you just, say up front, like, hey, these are the rules. If you fucking do them, you get kicked out of the game.
I mean, to be fair, 10,000 people probably aren't going to show up wearing full native headdresses.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it's pretty easy for 10,000 people to start doing the chop and go, whoa. That's hard to stop.
Yeah, but
I think
it's
hard to stop, but you don't have to encourage it from a stadium management perspective.
That would be easy, I think, and probably.
And I think that's what the Braves are kind of saying, because that's the only thing they could be in control of. They just don't play the cue on the scoreboard and the sound system. Fans start their own chants all the time. Do you think the teams encourage fans to chant bullshit or refs suck or whatever?
Sometimes they should. I know they won't, but I mean, there are certainly times when they should, like when they call for an instant replay after the second play started against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I don't want to digress.
No, you don't call bullshit. Then you just throw beer bottles.
Well, sometimes it's called for. I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying I understand it. So should we go on to talk a little bit of the National Hockey League real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Mike's home country of Canada has been kind enough to be the host country for the return of the NHL.
Well, yeah. Not for the NHL's lack of trying. They really, from the beginning, they wanted it so badly in Vegas. And then the COVID cases just kept going up and up and up and up and up. And they were like, all right, fine, we'll put it in Edmonton. Surely nothing can survive in Edmonton.
Right. Wow, Winnipeg. I would go with Winnipeg, but that's just me.
Come on. Edmonton is a lovely town. Full of
it has a mall.
I think Winnipeg was your better choice. That's Toledo of Canada. There you go. Just put it there.
I don't think Winnipeg could handle so much so soon.
My favorite thing, though, about Edmonton's bid to be the host city for one of these things, in their little brochure that they made for the NHL, they tried to advertise the fact that we're near the Rocky Mountains when the Rocky Mountains are a 4-hour drive away from Edmonton.
You have to understand. If you're from that part of the country, if you're from the Midwest, a 4-hour drive's nothing.
Sure. Come to Los Angeles, see the Golden Gate Bridge. Same thing.
Roughly.
It's different, god damn it.
That's like saying, like, when you're living in Toledo and you go, the Reds are just down the road. Yeah, 4.5 fucking hours down the road.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Look, when I was living in London, Ontario, it's like, oh yeah, let's just go into Toronto for the day. It's a 3-hour drive. It's fine.
Each way?
Yeah.
Wow. Where's London in relation to Detroit? I'm going to ask a really dumb question here.
So this isn't exact, but basically imagine it's halfway between Toronto and Detroit.
Yeah, never mind. I was thinking Windsor, which is not Toronto, obviously. God, so I was closer to Toronto when I lived in Syracuse than you were, basically. We get to Toronto in 2 hours easy from Syracuse.
Yeah, when you were in Syracuse is probably closer to Toronto than London is. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Toronto. By the way, just want to say it again. Great city. Probably my favorite one I've ever been to. So there you go.
But
fuck off if you don't like it.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, that's just the thing. It's like when you're from, I hesitate to say the Midwest because that's sort of an American term, but like Southern Ontario up through the prairies is basically the Canadian Midwest. And like, it's like, oh yeah, no, 4-hour drive. You can do that in a day. That's easy.
Yeah. It's like being from the Great Plains here. Like if you're in Oklahoma or Nebraska or what's the other ones that people don't live in either, but whatever. Anyway, but back to the game itself. So it's Edmonton and Toronto, right?
Yeah, the Western Conference will be in Edmonton. The Eastern Conference will be in Toronto.
As much as the NHL, didn't want it to be in Edmonton, like this is going to make it easier because you don't have to deal with cross-border restrictions. Like when eventually you get to the point where the Eastern and Western teams need to play each other at the end of this thing. So,
the way it's going to work is the East. It's the East in Toronto and the West in Edmonton for the first 2 rounds. And then once the conference finals and Stanley Cup will be in Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
The conference finals and Stanley Cup final will be played in Edmonton.
Not Toronto, Edmonton.
Edmonton, yes.
That's like saying, okay, we've got our choices for the Super Bowl are New Orleans and Pittsburgh. It's like, yeah, let's do New Orleans. Or New Orleans and Casper, Wyoming.
But the difference, of course, though, with this is that honestly, where they put these things doesn't matter. Because they're going to be empty
matters
buildings.
A little bit. That's true. That's true.
Like the players are all going to be in a bubble. It's not like they're going to be encouraged to.
I know, but
going to be encouraged to make that 4-hour drive to the Rockies anyway.
But I just think only in the NHL would you put your marquee event in Edmonton. I'm not knocking Edmonton at all. I'm just saying that you've got Toronto, you've got Chicago, I suppose, or you know what I mean. You just don't think Edmonton for the. But I've never been. Mike, have you been to Edmonton? What's it like? Is it nice?
I've never been to Edmonton. I was in the airport.
Okay.
The airport has a really mural.
All right, well, that's good enough, I guess.
I'll say that, but like I don't know, Edmonton. It's y'all make jokes, but Edmonton is it's a real city with people and everything. So
I still have a hard time believing that.
So is Toledo, and I love Toledo. It's my hometown. Ain't no Super Bowl coming to Toledo anytime soon. Just saying.
No. So the training camps in the NHL open today. They will be going to I believe they're going to go to the hub cities on the 26th, and then the games would start on August 1st. With the Cup final ending no later than October 2nd.
Okay.
And the season be starting?
That's my next question. When's the next season? Is the next season just pick right up from there?
December.
All right. Well, see, now we're back into this thing we've been talking about all along. Now you've got the calendar screwed up again.
They'd have the Cup final ended on August 2nd or October 2nd at the latest. The draft is the 9th, I believe. Free agency starts a few days after that. And then training camps open in November, and then you're back on the horse in December. And Gary Bettman has continued to say that he's committed to putting in a full 82-game season next year. I don't know how the hell you want to do that. Again, if you want to do the full season and you're starting in December, you're committing to screwing up the next 3 seasons just to do that.
That's what I mean. Bite the bullet and go 60 games next year. And that's just the way it is. You can work out the money with the networks and all that. Everybody's in the same boat here when it comes to that sort of thing. It's not like the NHL's going, we're not going to provide you a product. Fuck you. We can't provide you a product, and we're sorry. So let's work out. Everything can be worked out pretty easily. I know it'd be complicated from contracts and all that, but you don't have to go full 82 next year to try to get everything back to normal as quickly as possible. It's going to take some time. And I think that, you start messing the calendar up for 3 years, and I don't want to be talking about this in 3 years. I just don't. I don't. It's like the fucking COVID-19 season 3. No more. That's it. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead, Mike.
I'm just saying, Oilers, Maple Leafs, Stanley Cup Finals. Let's book it.
Shit, I'd dig that. That'd be fun.
Yeah. I mean, it would just so happen that the Leafs will probably win in the year where it's going to just have the biggest possible asterisk attached to it.
You know what? Fuck it. If the Leafs win, I'm not letting any of you fucking trash talk. If the Leafs fucking do this and win it, I'm going, no. They're your fucking 2020 Stanley Cup champ. You will respect that. All right. No, it's on the cup. All right.
Mike, I'm just gonna say every time that city wins a championship, something terrible happens. So careful what you wish for.
This time they're winning it after the plague, so it should be fun.
The plague, but God knows what they'll cause next. Come on. I mean, we live in a world right now where we've got this horrible virus going around. We've got just all sorts of problems in the streets.
Protests going on.
We've got a parallel universe where time runs backwards. UFOs are real. We've had a radio signal from space. I don't want Toronto winning anything because God knows what they'll bring this time. Look at what you did with the Raptors, for fuck's sake. Come on.
You know what? Fuck you. It was all worth it. The Raptors, by the way, continuing their reign as champions of the basketball world, I might add.
That's right.
I might add.
This is the longest reign ever, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, who's gonna fucking step up? I mean, like seriously, like has the NBA announced? Like the NHL flat out said, camps are open. We're playing here and here. Games start here, they end here. Like has the NBA?
The NBA has done that. Yeah. As far as I know, all teams are already in Orlando and practicing right now.
Good. Oh, good. Yes. Come to Florida to deal with the corona. Yeah, fantastic.
Literally, the epicenter of the globe for this thing right now.
We
is
broke
Orlando,
the record
Florida.
Yesterday for most cases reported in a single day. Okay, if I can rant about this, can I introduce you all to some of my personal hell?
Sure.
So we broke the record, as I said yesterday, with 153,000 reported COVID-19 cases.
In one day?
In one day. In the state.
Man.
Good. Yay us. Now,
damn, what was number 2 behind that?
Number 2 was us at 100,000 a week ago.
Oh, well, shit. We should keep it in the family.
And they broke the previous record was New York back in
March, I think.
May or March? Yeah.
And then Florida just obliterated that with 2 goes.
Dude, I'm not sure we've had 150,000 cases in all of Ohio.
Right. People keep pointing to well, look at all the numbers in California and in New York. It's like, well, you realize that we have 3 times as many people as Florida does?
Yeah.
You've only got about 12. No, you're right. What's the population of California? 60 million?
I think it's double. I think it's Florida.
Double, like 40 million, yeah.
But here's the crazy thing. So here's the crazy thing. So COVID cases are spiking in this state. And the governor is telling us, teachers, we're going into class. We're going into work next month. They're like, no, you're no working from home, no remote teaching. You're going into the building, and the governor, this goddamn idiot, went on TV and said, if it's safe enough to go to Walmart and Home Depot, it's safe enough to go to school.
Well, I hate to break it to him, but being in a room full of, and I'm guessing what's the age range of the kids you teach, Mike?
I primarily teach 15-year-olds.
Okay, so 15-year-olds and you in a room for what, 45
intervals.
40-minute intervals.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing in the world, but not great by any definition.
Here's the problem, right? It's like, how many times do you go to Home Depot and spend 8 hours in Home Depot
with 40 people?
Proximity with
20 people?
Yeah.
No, you don't. You don't.
Yeah.
No,
so that's my hell. That's my personal hell that I'm living through right now. I'm afraid I might die. So.
Nah, you'll be fine. the only one of us
either that or the brain-eating amoeba, Mike.
Or the brain-eating amoeba that's in my county.
And never forget, Mike, the silent enemy. Florida man is always out there somewhere.
Look,
always.
Florida man is always out there. I could be walking in my car one day and he's going to run over me with a fucking pickup truck full of chickens or something. And then you're going to see it. Florida man driving stolen truck full of chickens runs over teacher. And
runs over Canadian. No, it'll be Canadian.
Runs over Canadian. And that's how you'll know that I died. And so in the event that I do perish because I'm being sent into a plague factory, My mod spot will go to the strongest. I want the board to fight for it.
Okay.
The last one standing gets it.
Well, fair enough. All right. I will see to it that happens.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So-
it's pretty crazy out there right now.
But yes, Mike, the NBA has gone to Florida. MLS has had 2 teams drop out of this tournament nonsense that they orchestrated.
So
because they
they're
had
not
too
even
much
having a full
COVID.
slate.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball's had 31 players, I think, test positive so
Yeah.
far.
There's
And
been plenty
another
of MLE players that have already dropped
See, this is
out.
why- this
There's
is why the
been
NHL this
NBA
is why-
players that have dropped out, NHL players that have dropped out.
This is why the NHL's smart, though. Think about it. They got their 2 hub cities in Canada. Anyone comes down with COVID, national health care, baby.
yeah, but when you sent the text yesterday going, hockey's back, you're welcome. I said, oh yeah, it's all fun and games until you all start blaming us for the coronavirus outbreak that's sure to happen. And then it'll be,
Well,
I don't know, we'll probably have war or something. Who knows?
The funniest part about putting the hub cities in Canada to me is the fact that Gary Bettman confirmed the other day that he doesn't know if him or the deputy commissioner Bill Daley will actually be able to go to Canada
To present the Stanley Cup. Yeah,
because of the border closures.
yeah. Well,
So
I'll tell you
it would be just ultimate NHL in the pandemic. To first off, the other thing that we should mention here while we have the NHL on our minds, global pandemic, worst thing that we've all experienced in our lives, somehow was the thing that spurred the NHL into labor peace. So there
Yeah.
won't be a lockout in 2 years, which is crazy. And they're going to go to the Olympics. So good job,
Yeah.
everybody.
It took this to get the NHL to stop being stupid, but
But the peak thing of the NHL in a pandemic universe would be that there's labor peace and that Gary Bettman isn't presenting the Stanley Cup.
this is gonna be fucking hilarious. The Stanley Cup's gonna have to be presented by like the mayor of Edmonton or some shit.
No.
Grady.
I want the emergency goalie from whatever the winning team is. No, the losing team. Emergency goalie.
The emergency. So, we never talked about this again, but while we're talking about the NHL, can we talk about how this is the only goddamn league to ever have to be determined win a draft pick?
Cool, right?
I mean, the NHL did its draft lottery, which, by the way, is a hilarious picture if you've seen it. It's Gary Bettman standing next to the lotto machine as an aide stands 6 feet away wearing a face mask. And they did the draft lotto. And we don't know, like, they did the lottery, but we don't know who has the number 1 pick.
I don't. It was just so funny because people, I guess nobody put the numbers together ahead of time.
Of course they did. Why would they?
Well, no. I mean, like, I'm not talking about the league. I'm talking about us as the people that are supposed to like be the check and balance against this nonsense. It wasn't until after the pick went through that everyone was like, oh yeah, well the playoff teams always had a better chance at winning the draft than anybody else. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? I think everybody was under the impression until it finally freaking happened that because the way it was listed on the draft board, it was like, you know, playoff team A, playoff team B, playoff team C. They were each listed as separate entries with a percentage. So I was under the impression that, you know, the winner wouldn't necessarily just be like team to be determined. It would be playoff slot A, and that playoff slot would correspond to the loser of a particular series.
Yeah.
Or what they're going to do is they're going to if in the event that the draft didn't happen, they were going to basically reseed everybody by points percentage.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, well, it'll just go to whatever is the team with the 6th lowest points percentage, or the loser of just to pick a team, Edmonton, Chicago. And that's what I thought it was. And if it was just one particular set of, like, a very specific entry, that's fine. But that's never how it was going to work. And I don't think it dawned on anybody until after the fact, because now what it is when they added all the math together, the playoff teams were still the Ottawa Senators had the highest chances because they had the number 2 and number 3 picks in the lotto balls. So they had, I think, a 25% chance of getting the number 1 pick, which they didn't get. They actually got 3 and 5, which is kind of funny to me.
Fuck you, Senators.
And And then second, the collective group of playoff losers, that whole group of picks added up to a 24% chance as a number one pick. And then Detroit, who's been, the worst team ever assembled in the Cap era.
Yeah, it's like the worst team over the past goddamn 30 years.
The worst team ever assembled is actually had the third best odds to get the number one pick.
Did they get fourth?
And they got fourth.
This is amazing. Just amazing.
And so the winner.
And so now they're going to have a second draft lottery after the first round is done to determine who gets it. And so that means that the number one overall pick, if let's say if something happens where Pittsburgh gets upset in the first round, the Penguins could get the number one overall pick. And it's not just like, this is a decent draft with a good player. This is like a legit good scoring elite winger that is going to be drafted. So Pittsburgh could get him. Edmonton could get another shot at a number one pick for some dumb reason. Chicago will be like, oh, what was us? We had 2 bad seasons. Oh, wait, we have another elite talent on our way back up to the top. Yeah. So
no,
this
is
fun.
This is so
Hell,
dumb.
Toronto could get it, Mike. Would you rather win the cup or get the number one pick, Mike?
I mean, honestly, I'd rather win the cup.
Yeah.
I don't fucking care about.
I think if they win the cup,
goddamn asterisks, like, goddamn it, give me the cup.
This might be the most difficult cup ever to win.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, but yeah, no, the NHL somehow managed to get to be determined to win the draft lottery, and you said it, Zach. Like, the people who are supposed to be the checks and balances against this failed. And do you see what happens when the NHL is left to their own devices when they don't have someone like holding their hand? Do you see what happens?
Yeah.
We're going to call it a night here. As always, follow us on the Twitter at Basically Sports. You can subscribe via Apple Podcast, the Stitcher, the Spreaker, and the YouTubes, and wherever fine podcasting is sold. There are other sites out there that we're on. I just don't know all of them. So with that, we'll see you next time. Stay safe, and we'll hopefully have some good news one of these days.
Sounds good.
Later, guys. Wash your hands.
Absolutely. And if you can't do that, use sanitizer. And by all means, please stay the fuck away from me.